So the big question is, how did I get here? How did I get to the point where I feel like I am scrambling for my life? Or what it felt like at some point is that you are just in a hole that just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you could not just, you have to literally fight to crawl your way out of it. How did I get there? I got married at 25. In hindsight, that was pretty young. And I know there are people that got married earlier, but at that time, you've still sort of not figured out who you are and yourself. And I think that was where my own problem started. Before I got married, I was a writer. I'm still a writer though. Well, I used to write. I had a blog that I was managing for a couple of years. I was doing YouTube as well. I was growing on Instagram. I was basically, well on my way to building my life. I had a job in a cloud computing firm, and I was living alone before I got married. So I was literally like entry level in my career, right? And then, even though it was my dream and goal, right, to get married at that age, I don't know what I was doing. I wish I'd known. But yeah, I got married at that age, 25. And the first sort of crisis-ish that came to me was now having to change my name. So I'd made a name for myself, Tomilola Akibo. If you Googled me, at least you could find some things there. You find my articles, you find this, you find that. I distinctly remember, and I think I did a post about it. I wrote about it, in terms of like what I was dealing with, like in my emotions. Being a newlywed as a female, you move your stuff from your apartment if you lived alone from your apartment. I think it's more difficult when you lived alone. You move from your apartment, you pack up all your stuff. It's such an emotional experience. You pack up all your stuff and you go over to this guy's house. After you had like what 5 hour celebration, and if you did civil wedding after like 5 minutes, they just say, oh yeah, you're now packing yourself to woman's house. And the truth is that for me that was the most difficult part a bit for me, because now I have to bear a new name, and I've been independent for a while. It's difficult to having to now start depending on someone, and you that you've always changed your balls before, you've always climbed the stuff and carried the big load because there's somebody else that is helping you, and there's somebody else say, oh please, can you help me? You have to ask, can you help me? Not expecting them to help, and you have to ask. And it's some sort of identity crisis for me, because now I'm like, okay, and you've been yourself. I've been Tomi Akibo for a while, for the greatest part of my life till now. I've been Tomi Akibo, and and to some extent, I've had some things that I've done in my name. Then now you are this new somebody without no record, no trace, nothing. And if you've never done your change of name, you practically don't even exist yet. I'm going through all that identity crisis. People don't realize that it's an emotional process for a woman to just plug in and plug out and plug in. But really 6 months after I got married, and I was talking about the identity shift in who you are after you get married. So it feels like who you are sort of disappears, costume. I googled my new name and nothing came up, and I was like, oh, it's like I'm sort of this new person. And I think that was where the first identity shift started coming in. And I had a pretty good life. It wasn't the best, right? But it was okay. I was content. I was happy. I was, can I say I was happy? Thinking back now, I don't really know. But anywho, I really was, that was the beginning of everything. And I think a year after, or 2 years-ish after I got married, I had my first child. And so I got married 2015. I had my first child in 2017.
And in that 2017, you know, everything about me again started changing. Then you've come from wife to mother, and nobody really talks a lot about how that identity shifts affect you, because I mean, the man doesn't have to change a lot, you know, in that sense, right? And maybe some people also don't think too much about maybe when they change their name, but I think it actually pretty does affect people. But for me, that was the beginning of it. And so much, you know, about how things were. Then there was also the side where, you know, you're just newly married and there's so many things you have to integrate into. And again, the person I got married to was also probably another, I won't call it issue, but another big thing, because again, I married someone that was older than me, a lot older than me. And because he's had his life, you know, pretty much set up before I came in, so integrating into that was also an issue. And that really sort of shook me off of my ground. And then over the couple of years, because I felt, oh, why everything is, oh, you're married to this nice guy, you guys are in love, blah 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 blah, I didn't know that I had to fight for myself. Honestly, I didn't know that I had to advocate for myself, because it's like, if this person doesn't understand what you're going through, right, you just assume that, oh, this person will understand what you're going through. So I now started advocating. I had to start advocating. So my older friend, she told me about it. And I was speaking to her one day and I was really crying. I was like, oh, that I didn't like how I was feeling, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, my dear, you open your mouth and talk. You advocate for yourself. I was like, and me, I'm not very confrontational, so that's also part of the issue. So I had to start advocating for myself. So the toll of me feeling like I had to like advocate for myself, the fact that I was still trying to fit into this motherhood thing, this thing. Then we decided to homeschool again, and everything. I was like, oh, my goodness. So everything was doing my head in, seriously. Again, I started homeschooling, and because again, I felt like I couldn't do my job properly, because I was still working with the company, but I was working remotely. I couldn't do my job properly because now I had a son and I couldn't like juggle. Of course, I think I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm like, no, I don't know how to do this. I said, no, I was going to resign. So I resigned from my job, and here I am not doing anything per se, because I really wasn't doing anything for work at the time, except work for my husband and help him with his business. So I just felt, again, layer that on top of it, I felt somehow. Eventually decided, because I had photography skills, I eventually decided to start doing product photography. I then now started saying, since I used to write, let me start documenting my motherhood journey and everything, which birthed my Cuddle blog, which I have still up and running. And but again, the toll of all of that identity. Now imagine, before I got married, I'll come home from work, sit in my room. I close from work at 5 or 6. 5 or 6. I take a long walk home from my office sometimes, or a 15 minutes ride home. And then when I get home, buy my food on my way home and get into the house and just eat in silence, because I didn't have a TV. Of course, then it was only maybe you have movies on your laptop that you want to watch, you have to go and copy it or download it or something. So having that peace and quiet, to having that peace and quiet for like 2 years, but still, you still had time. Even when I got married 2 years, I still did my YouTube. I still did my YouTube. I still wrote. I still did anything. But as soon as I had my child, that was the biggest one. As soon as I had my child, then everything just started breaking, cracking inside of me. And it wasn't what I was hoping for in terms of like birth. I didn't think too much about it, but then I had to have, like, a week before my appointment, I went for an appointment, and as soon as I got to the appointment, they told me, oh, next week we have to do a surgery for you. First time mother, and I didn't know, I'd never done a surgery before. This was my first surgery, and it's going to be a major surgery. So that also sort of got into my head. When my mother-in-law came as well, there was so much friction in between because of some things that happened that I didn't feel like was my fault, and I felt like I'm in such a vulnerable phase, right? I should have. That also contributed to it. So, and now you have all these things, and you did not have time or peace and quiet to process it. That is where the problem was. I didn't have time to process it. I must have said that's where the problem was many times, right? So you are seeing it pile on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. 4 years again. After 4 years of not processing all of your emotions, not processing all of your feelings, I get pregnant and have a second baby. And that second baby came when I had the second baby. That was my lowest point because it came with a lot of anxiety. I did not know where it came from. I couldn't believe that it was happening to me because I didn't understand what it was. But I would just randomly like be having palpitations, and I'll be so scared that something will happen, so scared that something will happen to my son, so scared that something will happen to me, so scared. And I, looking back at my pictures and some of the videos I made in those moments, I really looked horrible. I'm not still looking my best though. But that time, I'll insert all the videos. I did not like how I was looking. Just looking back, like, but I was really going through it. I had no clue. And I'll tell my friend, I'm like, I feel like just going somewhere where I just scream. You know, there was this series that there were a group of girls where they were friends. For the life of me, I can't remember. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen. They'll just go by the train station. That was their own therapy. Like they'll go by just hold each other and just like let off some steam. So now another layer, another child, anxiety, had palpitations, blah blah blah. My sisters really helped me at the time. My sister also tried to give me tools to be able to, because she was in therapy. So she was giving me tools from her therapy for me. That's where she told me about, you know, grounding myself. She told me about taking deep breaths, and to be honest, they really helped. Taking those deep breaths in between all of that, you know. And in the middle of all this, I'm still on and off again in terms of understanding how my marriage is working, right? We did not hate each other, but at the same time we didn't really understand each other to the depth that it was going to be like, oh, smooth sailing, and I could just go bonkers the next minute. I knew that about myself. I could go, because I was pretty like, I couldn't just understand some things. Anywho, so lay on top of this, lay on top of that, lay on top of this. I'm still homeschooling my 5-year-old now at the time, and almost 1-year-old. Bear in mind, we still traveled in between all this. Me alone with the kids, I traveled, and in the highest, peakest, lowest time of my life, we went to 3 or 4 different states in Nigeria. And I think that was where I broke. After one trip, I think we went to Abuja, and after that trip, I broke down. I just did not have it in me anymore to fight. I didn't have it in me anymore I just didn't have it in me. Like, I'm like, I can't do this. How am I doing this? I can't do this. So I decided that the next year, we're not going to travel anymore. I was just going to be at home throughout the year. Like, I wasn't going to plan any trip. I think that was 2024. I wasn't going to plan any trip. I wasn't going to do anything. Like, I just wanted to sort of figure out what was wrong with me. Of course, I knew what was wrong because I hadn't had time to process my emotions, you know. And at the end of that year, I just told my husband, I said, see, I'm leaving for a couple of days. It just helped me declutter my mind. And it just helped me declutter my mind so much that I felt good when I got back home. And towards the end of the year. So I went into the next year a little bit lightheaded ish. That was 2025. But then again, my sons are growing. So as they are growing, they're having a bit more of a personality. And that also now layers on top of it. So their personality driving me up a wall, trying to figure out, am I doing the right thing? Did I do the right thing? So having so much doubt, so much everything, just to figure out, okay, are we on the right track? And again, bear in mind that I'm homeschooling as well. So because I'm homeschooling, the questioning and doubts is like times 3. It's times 3. So I got to that point where I still broke again in 2025, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. And I felt like I was in a hole that I just couldn't get out of, because I couldn't figure out these behavioral issues. All of this, I've been to a educational psychologist. I don't want to go into the details of my children's behavioral issues again, but they are children, so just imagine, and then imagine times 5. So I've gone to like behavioral therapists, gone to just seek opinions in many places, just to figure out, is it me or is it them or the me, or they're me, right? So I've tried to figure all of this out, and I'm like, no. And in between, because of behavioral issues, I yo-yo in between, because again, I'm overwhelmed. I yo-yo in between being a very super calm mom, gentle mom, to being a monster mom, like monster mom sometimes. But not monster without a clear head, of course. I'm monster with a clear head, but monster mom. But then I yell, and then later again I feel guilty. And at some point I'm like, no, I'm not even feeling guilty about this anymore. Why? Because I'm like, the behavioral issues are the behavioral issues. It's not me. I'm not the one acting up. I'm not the one acting like, why am I the one feeling guilty? Why am I the one? As in, I literally had to tell myself that no. You got to collect all these behaviors. It's not, because I was feeling guilty at some point, but I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Anywho's, so this year, let me just fast forward to this year. And this year, I was like, Dumlola, you cannot keep doing this. You have to sort of make yourself happy. And because, again, all these things combined, I was not getting myself. I wasn't happy in my happiest, right? I was not, of course, I've gone through bouts of depression from all these years, because again, now this is the 11th year. So I've gone through bouts of depression for being a mom. This is the 9th year, going on the 10th year. So I've gone through bouts of depression in between. I've gone through everything. So I was like, okay, Dumlola, make yourself happy. I think it was towards the end of last year and beginning of this year. Start making yourself happy. What are the things that make you happy? I started playing music, dancing. I tried therapy. I think I did, but I don't know. Just, it didn't work for me, Sha. Maybe it's the people. Definitely it's the person or the people, because I think I tried twice. And everything was just, because I tried to talk to them through, and I just didn't like the vibe I was getting. So I was like, okay, my dear sister, you have yourself to carry your cross, my dear sister. And so I really started, playing music, dancing, trying to figure out, okay, how do I get myself out of this funk? Which is why I was like, okay, let me do a 31-day reset. And, different things I've done to cope. Of course, I have friends. I talk to people. No. I really did not talk to people about the issues that I was going through in my head. I didn't really talk to people. It's only once in a while I talk to one of my friends, right? And occasionally, I'll tell my sisters what's up in my head in terms of, this is how I'm feeling and all of that. And then coping, I also wrote a lot. Like journal, I journaled a lot. I still journal. It's not like as if I'm out of it 100%, but I still journal. But I'm in much better headspace, right? I also stopped the level of work that we're doing for our homeschool, so that I could now think, because I found that one of the issues was that I wasn't processing a lot of the things that were happening to me. I wasn't processing. I processed my first child's birth maybe a few years after, right? I wasn't processing it. I didn't process all the things that happened. The birth of my second son as well. I had some issues by the time after the surgery. I was in so much pain, had to go back. Then a few years down the line, I was having pains in that area as well. So I've had to deal with backache. So I didn't really process all of these things. And I think that was also part of the issues, and writing it down to process it, taking some time, quiet time. Like now, this block of time now was me getting my time back, because before I would have followed them to the playground, but I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore. Oh, it's already 6:20. So anywho's, another big thing that I will talk about in my next video is my faith, and how that has played out in all of us. So I have to go. Thank you for listening. This video is too long, so follow along on my journey. If you want to subscribe to my channel.